I love Mr. Frog. To be honest with everybody, when I watched the first episode of Smiling Friends, I was honestly a little iffy on it. I liked it, but I didn't love it, and I didn't really come back to it for a couple of months. To be clear, I like this episode now, but I wasn't in the right headspace for it. I decided for the heck of it to skip that episode and go to episode 2, and I really liked this episode. I have a weakness for dark humor and parodies of show business. It was this shot in particular that sold me on the show. So, Mr. Frog in the world of the Smiling Friends is the biggest celebrity that's ever existed. The show consists entirely of this of him running up to the camera, waving to it, saying, "Hello, I'm Mr. Frog," then eating the bug. And somehow this has lasted for 40 seasons. Unfortunately, Mr. Frog has to go and ruin it by trying to eat a TMZ reporter. So Charlie and Pim's case for this week is to make him smile. He's a happy and cheerful guy who has a tick of saying hello over and over again. And on a dime, he seems willing to enact terrible violence on people. I don't know what it was about this shot that sold me on the show. There's just something so menacingly funny about it. You quickly become aware that, oh no, he's very, very high on purple cocaine, which is both whimsical and kind of scary. And then it hits you the fact, oh, they are shooting very powerful weapons. We get a quick descent into the dangerous mind of a celebrity, a person who's used to having no consequences, now having to face them. The B story is about Gleb, the little wizard guy who gets hired by the Mr. Frog show to replace Mr. Frog. And all Gleb does is spit, but apparently that's very funny. And we meet the executive producer of the show. Now, this is a guy who's obsessed about not making the show toxic. The irony being, of course, he is the most toxic guy on the show. Mr. Frog's attempted publicity tour where he makes nice has gone totally wrong, and it's been a succession of extreme violence every which way. And he's become so toxic to the media at large that there's almost nobody who would give him a platform anymore. Except Jimmy Fallon. I remember that there was at some point in the past, Jimmy Fallon was considered a really great addition to the late night scene. I know that seems impossible to believe, but back when he took over Conan's spot at the Late Show and Conan was hosting the Tonight Show, Jimmy was considered to be doing pretty good. I remember kind of liking him, but I struggle so hard to remember why, because I absolutely can't stand him now. It doesn't help that he's just an awful interviewer and he just goes the whole time. The show really nails his mannerisms of slapping the desk constantly. There's no animation frame that goes by without him moving or slapping the desk. It's really just kind of great animation. You know, the show feels a lot like Gumball in a way because it has a bunch of different animation styles all merged together. And I always really like the way they use rotoscope in it. It seems to add to the humor. This is Mr. Frog's best chance to make public amends for himself. All he has to do is say the right things, be kind and courteous. He goes on a racist rant against something, and that seems to be it for him. The show's going to go on, replace him with Gleb, and he's going to fade into the background. So he makes one last-ditch effort, runs into the studio, and for the first time in Mr. Frog's life, seems to be legitimately sorry. And just as Mr. Frog is about to apologize, he runs up and says, "No, you can't do that anymore." So Mr. Frog eats and kills him, and everybody loves him again. Because the other guy was super annoying. Yes, Mr. Frog was a terrible, violent sociopath who loved to cause nothing but destruction and pain, but the other guy was really annoying. Yes, the public cares somewhat about morality and being good and all that stuff, but what they really care about is vengeance. As long as you can provide them that sweet dopamine hit of hurting bad people, they don't really care what you do. The episode ends with Mr. Frog starting an entirely new show, which he owns all of, and becoming the richest, most powerful person in the world. I think the lesson in all of this is, isn't Hollywood great?